What I wanted to talk to you today about is, well, let's start off with what we want to achieve as teachers. When we started off teaching and entered into the classroom, what was it that we really wanted to achieve with our students? What was our objective? What were our goals? Now, what I'm actually going to ask you to do is to work in groups of 2 or 3, and I would like you to write down 5 key objectives that you would have, or you do have, as leaders, as educators within your classroom. And I'd like you to try and agree them between yourselves. Just think about what 5 key objectives that you have. I'm not going to give you very long to do this because we've got quite a lot to get through this session. You should all have paper inside your pack. So
I gave away mine.
my preference would be that you were not working with people necessarily from your school, but I'm not going to drive you mad with moving around if that's too complicated. So we'll add it to the list, okay? If they come up with the same item again, then we'll just keep it that. So which group would like to go first? Yes.
Okay, we got...
Just by the way, she's texting from her phone.
long-lasting life skills and knowledge. Long-lasting being the main thing.
Okay, I'm just warning you, I'm going to be really strict about this, so anybody that tries to get 2 into 1, I will not allow it. But I think that life skills and knowledge, I'll let it pass, but that's about as willing as I'm going to be.
Did you want the 3?
Yeah, keep going.
Motivate, inspire.
You're such a teacher, different colours, fantastic. Motivate and inspire is the 3rd one.
No, can I change my 3rd one? Hearts and minds for Jewish communities. Inspire.
Get a refund.
So why did you give us inspire? It was just like to tempt us. It's like when my wife shows me what's for dessert for Shabbos and says, you can't touch it the whole week.
Yes, that's right.
We've got a board rubber over here. I can do that bit. I might not be able to write, but I can rub out. Here we go. No, you're not allowed to write that. You can use the colour, but you have to keep that board clear. Right. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Next, yes.
So we talked about, I just don't know if we're overlapping here, but Jewish pride.
Yes.
And an interest to continue learning.
Okay. Interesting. Just by the way, there are no wrong answers yet. No, keep going.
And I think maybe the other one's probably applicability.
Well, that's interesting. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, as a Jewish educator, then I'm trying to teach. What I'm teaching is actually applicable to their lives.
Relevance?
Yeah, relevance.
Can we go with relevance?
Yep.
How many else?
One.
She knew, she was testing you. She can't help it. She's like the teacher of the class. Okay, next group, please. We'll keep moving forward. Yes.
Well, I wrote to impart knowledge and skills. That's very similar to that. I'm a Hebrew teacher.
Yeah, no, in fact, I'm going to say it's the same. Last few lines is okay.
Foster a love of Hebrew.
Love of Hebrew, okay.
Encourage curiosity.
No, you only get 3.
Oh, well then, that was his, so can I take one more for mine?
Okay, that's such an important word in teamwork. It's called we.
As a Hebrew teacher, to impart confidence.
No, you.
Confidence to express themselves. Confidence to express themselves in the Hebrew, in orally and in written form.
Okay. Confidence.
To express themselves.
To express in Hebrew?
Yes.
Specifically? Yeah. Okay. Just in A. Beautiful. Excellent. Next group. They had the least time, by the way, because they arrived
So
late. I'm
in
not picking on you or
addition
anything.
to what's there, we said strong self-belief.
Strong self-belief. Tell us the ones that you said that are there.
So strong connections to their Jewish identity. No, to their Jewish heritage and a strong Jewish identity.
Okay, so
One
one second.
Yeah, so those
is
are
that
already
different
there.
from pride?
Um,
I'll ask everybody, do we feel that Jewish identity is different from
maybe
Jewish
it
pride?
is, yeah.
Yes?
I think they're
Okay, so let's
different.
put it
Yeah.
down.
It connects.
Yeah.
But they're different.
Okay. This is proof, if ever you had it, if you get a group of Jews together and ask them to come up with one opinion, it's not possible. Keep going.
Well, we talked about progress to be metacognitive.
Self-esteem.
That's why you went into education, because you wanted to be metacognitive.
Well,
I'm
for
struggling
the
with
children,
that
The goal.
the children to
But the
be, to
children-
have metacognition
The children
Okay.
will understand themselves as
as
learners.
learner.
Okay. I'm going to keep moving round. I'm very pleased I'm not having to write these all down. Yes.
I think two of ours are already up there, but the one that's not up there is institutions, showing them that someone cares.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
And what?
Showing that someone cares. Show caring. Okay. Yes.
So this one is make children more Jewish literate, so it's greater Jewish literacy.
Okay.
The second one was to inculcate a love of Judaism, Israel, Jewish people, and Hebrew. So we've got
Yeah,
love of
yeah,
Hebrew.
yeah. That one is not one.
No?
No,
That's
strangely
three.
enough. I used to be a maths teacher, and I'm reasonably confident that that doesn't pass the level.
Okay, so just to a love of Judaism,
A love of
Israel.
Judaism, but we got hearts and okay.
Okay, so love of Israel.
Yeah, love of Israel. I'll
Would be
allow
the
that.
second. And children learn and develop to think outside the box. Thinking outside the box.
That's a really sweet one. Right, we're going to push on.
So, in addition to what is already on the board, to appreciate Ivrit, the importance of Ivrit as part of Jewish identity.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it as... I understand that there's a development
Okay.
from love of Hebrew because you want to say it's part of your Jewish identity, but can we keep it as that? Otherwise, we'll just have just too many options on the board.
To love education for its own sake and not only for its utilitarian.
Loving to learn,
Love of learning.
love of learning. I like that. Right, yes.
To create a good communication between the teacher and the student, building trust, to have a good experience by...
Hold on, trust is the same as a good communication.
I would put it, yes, because if the child doesn't trust you, doesn't communicate with you.
Okay.
Feel safe with you. Good experience in the learning at the moment that you create a thinking visible.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think whether that fits into anything that we have done. But what you were trying to say is a positive learning experience.
Yeah, but at the same time to teach the students how to message the thinking to be visible, to be able to, for us to understand the thinking of the child, to learn the process of thinking and to be able to communicate what they're thinking, to make it visible.
Wow,
If it does make sense.
I'm not sure how we're going to put that into
To make thinking visible.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how we're going to put it into one line.
And to achieve the outcome what we need to achieve.
Okay. Yeah, but that's the question, is what outcomes do you want to achieve?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. But I think...
Visible. Visible.
It's already
I'm not
written
that
there.
we've got knowledge on there. I'm not,
Okay.
Visible.
Yes.
So there were a few repetitions. So we also agreed on love of Judaism, love of lifelong learning, and something different is to create challenges beyond what they think that they can achieve. And that was related to the things you were saying about empowering and building confidence.
Beautiful. Anybody else got any comments that we haven't added on the board? Going, gone. Okay, now I have to tell you that this is, thank you very much indeed, round of applause. This is an incredibly I think, descriptive role of a teacher's job in the classroom. And in a way, if we think about it, I don't think anybody could turn around and say there is anything on that board that I would look at and say, oh no. The contrary, I think any of those things is wonderful. But at the same time, if I was the head of a school and I wanted to turn around to my teachers and say, this is what I want you to achieve, and I gave them all of this list, I think that they would run a million miles, because it is impossible to achieve these things. So I'm now going to ask you to try and narrow this down to the 3 things that we feel are most important. Again, we're going to do this simply by you voting. You get 1 vote each, and I'm going to ask you to vote for the thing that you feel is most important. Okay, we're just going to run through this quite quickly. Can you all see everything that's written on the board? Yes, excellent. That's thanks to you, so you did a brilliant job. Thank you very much indeed. So again, just 1 vote. Are you all going to be able to cope with 1 vote, or do you want me to give you 2 votes? 2, you see, excellent. Okay.
So sorry, can you clarify exactly what the parameters of what we're voting on? Why, what Jewish teachers?
Yes, if you are in charge of a school and you want your teacher to go into a classroom and you want your teacher to achieve, what is it? What is it that we as teachers want to achieve? The most important 2 things that we want to achieve for our students, okay? So, I'm just going to work my way down. Is it to change to children to have a metacognition? Okay, there's no no's, but there's definitely yeses, so it's fine if there's no voting. Long-lasting life skills and knowledge. Oh, quite a few. 6, 7, 8. Motivate. 1. Create challenges beyond. ... Love of learning. Wow.
We can only vote once, yeah?
He said twice, no?
He said once or twice?
What, love of learning?
No, you can vote twice.
So you can vote twice.
Okay.
But you can only vote once for any individual item. Okay. Lots. 10 plus. Okay. Jewish pride. This is tough. I'm not pretending that it's not. Hearts and minds for Jewish continuity. 3, 2.5. Up here again. Strong self-belief. A nod is not a vote, just so we're on the same page. Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like to make thinking visible. We all knew, just so you should know. Everybody knew that there was going to be 1 vote for this. Okay. Show caring. 2. Good communication between teacher and pupils. Interest to continue learning. Greater Jewish literacy. 3. Strong Jewish identity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To think outside the box. Curiosity. Kill the cat. Love of Hebrew. Go on.
I voted 3 times.
We'll let you. You're special. Confidence to express in Hebrew. And finally, love of Israel. I'm not that bad at maths. You see, you can't vote 3 times for things that you're the only person who votes for, because you will get caught. But we'll let you do it anyway. There you go. I can't not have a vote for love of Israel. Sorry?
Just add one more to love of Israel.
Ah, okay. Anybody not used up their votes that wish they had? Too bad. Okay.
Can I make a comment?
You can, actually. This is a discussion.
Some of these include some of the others. So they're not standalone. So if I'm talking about strong Jewish identity, in my mind, strong Jewish identity includes love of Israel.
Yeah.
I've got no problem with that.
So,
don't worry, I am not going to turn around and say that the conclusion here is that love of Israel is not important, or love of Hebrew is not important. That is just simply not true. anything that is on this board is important enough that people sitting in this room who are leading educators in this country have turned around and said, we think that this is important. That's not the question. The question is, what is the most important challenges for us or objectives for us as leaders within our school and teachers within our school? And the answer is quite simply as follows. Love of learning, which got very, very clearly the largest number of votes, and then in joint second place was long-lasting life skills and knowledge and a strong Jewish identity. And shall I tell you something? I think that is pretty spot on. If I was the principal of a school and I turned around and said that we have got 3 key objectives, love of learning, long-lasting life skills and knowledge, and a strong Jewish identity, I think we've ticked 3 major boxes in education with our schools. Is everybody happy about that?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for coming. I'm very pleased we all enjoyed it. No. What I would like to do now is to ask you to get out of the shell of being a teacher and imagine that you are a student. Okay? Now, for primary school teachers, I want you to imagine that you are an 8-year-old student. And for secondary school, let's imagine that we are a 15-year-old student. Okay? And what I would like to ask you is, what are the most important things in your life at the moment? Okay? What are the things that are the key factors for you in your life? Yes?
Friends?
No.
Oh.
We're going to do this back in the groups. So again, I'd like you to start with 5 and then we'll narrow it down to 3. But let's try and do this relatively quickly, please. You know, you were just spectating, that's fine. Next. Yes, you're 3. You. No, yes, you, the gentleman. That narrows it down to only one group.
We're talking about like their social life, their social situation, their relationships with people. And a 50-year-old. So, and an 8-year-old.
Okay, yeah, it's helpful to know.
Oh yeah, that makes a difference.
Okay, social life. Bit of confidence over here. You're coming in, you've got the first group. Let's hear, what are they?
They're also thinking about what do I actually need and what can I ignore. Like, is this marked? That's the question that they often ask in class. Okay.
Is it marked?
Yeah.
Yes, does it count?
Is it assessed?
Does it count?
What do you want out for
Okay.
reports?
Assessment.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm so pleased to see that there's some things that made it to
And
Australia.
their image, they're self-conscious about their image.
Image. Beautiful. Right.
Jane, she said.
Oh, does anybody else who's got any
Secondary.
other options? Right. We're going to move forward and then come round. Is that okay? Next group here. Yes.
He said, fitting in or being accepted. And we're talking about 15-year-olds, but I would imagine a
Right. There is an argument to say that that's included in social life, but I meant to push to say that it's not. Okay, because it's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And being able to express themselves. Self-expression.
Self-expression. And a third one, or?
I think what we said is
Excellent. Next group.
So we had fitting in, which is already up there, family
Family.
and recreation.
Which age group are you doing, by the way?
We've got a mixed
we're
together.
split.
Okay, because teenagers don't care about family. No, I didn't say that. Okay. And recreation. Thank you. I think recreation had to be up there. Yes.
We had number 1, opposite sex. Number 2, opposite sex.
And number 3,
And number
opposite
3,
sex.
food/fun.
Both with F.
Excellent. I just want you to know that I've done this particular activity many, many times with teachers, and I did it a few weeks ago with a group of teachers. It's not particularly relevant, but they were all Orthodox teachers teaching in Orthodox schools. And they had not said opposite sex.
Of course not.
And I said opposite sex. And they said to me, you're not allowed to say that anymore because you have to have equal opportunities and it can be same-sex relationships as well. So therefore what we wrote was boys and
Sex.
girls instead. No, you can't put sex because that's a totally different story.
Okay, so we need interest in each other.
It just shows you how our world is changing, actually. You can leave opposite sex for all I care. But you can only put it once, though, because I think everybody gets the idea.
Yeah.
Yes, this group over here, sorry.
Yes, so we said the 8-year-olds are interested in technology, their games on this.
Okay, I think the games is incorporated into the technology. It's a very, very powerful comment. Friends and sports, excellent. Mind you, now having
craze, there's always craze in that day.
having watched Australian football, I'm not sure that sports actually is included in that. But anyway, right, next group.
So we were talking about 8-year-olds, and we said acceptance,
which is there,
and validation, and support.
Validation and support. It's a really, okay, put support. It's a really, really interesting comment. That I think it's right to put it up there. It's a really interesting thought that children want to feel supported, almost needed. I think is another word there. Yes.
I said Fortnite, which is the game.
Which is the fad.
Fortnite is under recreation.
That's with
Soccer.
Yeah.
And maths.
When you said soccer, you meant English football.
Of course.
Otherwise, it's not going to make it on the board. We both know that.
And maths.
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 Okay. Not being overly specific about any subject. Next.
I also said Fortnite.
Okay. We might incorporate Fortnite into technology in a moment, but
Recreation, yeah, particularly footy, yeah.
okay.
But also teach a lot of strong students. Excellence is very important to them.
Don't be embarrassed about that. I think it's really lovely to put it. Excellence.
What is it? Excellence. Academic excellence.
Is it academic excellence or being top of the class?
No, academic excellence.
Okay, so let's have academic excellence. And last but not least,
I think all of those were set, but we're going to put Jewish studies up there. Maths to Jewish studies.
okay. Just so we're clear, this is what the students feel is the most important thing I like. I was questioning the maths, not the Jewish studies.
Sure.
Okay. Everybody knows what we're going to do now. You're going to get 2 votes because you'll be upset if I give you 1. Let's try and very quickly figure out what is the most important aspect of these kids' lives. So can everybody see the board? I realise I'm standing in the way of the board. Just take a quick look over there. It's interesting, by the way. I'm not sure whether it's you wrote more succinctly or made an effort to be tidier, but it looks like there is fewer on this board than that board, which could be the case. Everybody know what you're going to vote for? Okay, family.
Which age are we talking about in general?
Yeah, I think we're just going to go for general now, okay? Otherwise it just gets too complicated. Yeah. Recreation. You're allowed to vote. 5. Acceptance. Wow. Can I put 10 plus because I can't count higher than that. Self-expression. Technology, including Fortnite, just so we're all clear over here. 5.
Does that include social media, Instagram?
Okay, let's start that again. Technology, including Fortnite, social media, Instagram, mobile phones. Okay. You're only allowed to use your 2 votes on different items, but that's okay. I'm going to put 10 over here. I'm not sure it was more than that. Friends. That's interesting. 2. Social life, which I really think is the same as Friends. Okay. Maybe people thought that was a TV program. I don't know. The opposite sex. 4, 5. Yeah, I have to say the Year 9 students, I would have thought that that's like 50 as opposed to 5. But anyway, social life is assessment, self-image. I suspect that had self-image been written at the top of the board, it might have done better. Academic excellence, which by the way ties in with assessment. I'm going to put fads into technology because it's just too complicated otherwise. And the food and food we'll keep there. Anybody interested in food? No. Sport, footy, soccer, maths.
Depends where you are.
And last but not least, Jewish studies. Okay. Sorry, validation to and support 1. Okay, what we have come out with over here, ladies and gentlemen, is that 2 very, very strong winners are acceptance and technology. But like way ahead of everybody else. Okay, a little bit gutted that family didn't even get a single point, but that's okay. Just a question here. When we say acceptance, what do you think you mean by acceptance? Acceptance from whom?
Their peers.
Their peers.
Which is why friends go into it.
Which is why, because I think... Yes, sorry.
Acceptance from adults.
You think acceptance from
family.
By adults, by
Can be both.
It's very interesting because I can see both sides of that. I can see absolutely that you have some children that want to feel that they're accepted by the adult in the classroom. But I do think that there is an enormously strong element within any classroom environment and within any social framework of children wanting to feel accepted by their peers.
But also the acceptance of themselves, self-image.
Yes, but self-image is there, to be fair, as a separate item. I agree with you, but it is the self-image
But
is
as
there.
acceptance of
On
themselves.
themselves, which is, I agree, also very
It's
important.
very-
Absolutely very important. But what I was coming to is that I think that children will do things in order to feel accepted that unfortunately can lead them into the most dangerous pathways. It is one of the things that we need to understand, that for children, what they care about is what other people think. And that almost ties in, and it's why I asked you the question about academic excellence. I wonder whether there are some children, without doubt, that they feel they want to really achieve. But how many of those children feel they want to achieve for the sake of being accepted by possibly adults or possibly their peers? How many children are scared to read in front of the rest of their friends because they're worried, what are their friends going to say? So all of these things are major factors. But the reason, ladies and gentlemen, that I did this is because I want to show you one simple and exceptionally scary fact. And that is that there is not an item on that board, possibly with the exception of academic excellence, that is on this board, again, Jewish studies. And certainly the 2 priorities for your child who is sitting inside the classroom is acceptance and technology, and they are not one of your 3 major priorities. And therefore, it doesn't matter which are the key ones over here. What I want you to see and I want you to understand is that when we walk into a classroom and we tell the children, Kinderlich, today I'm going to teach you something that is going to change your life, it's going to be so fantastic, I am going to teach you about how Moshe Rabbeinu came down the mountain with 10 commandments. They want acceptance and they want technology. If it was a tablet with an iPad, I would be all right. You're absolutely right that you can show it to them on the computer. But make no mistake, you can try to use that medium of education, but you cannot compete with Fortnite.
I would argue that strong Jewish identity contributes strongly to acceptance. If one's accepted within their community, that contributes towards their sense of self.
Okay. To a certain extent, I could agree with that, but sorry.
No, I don't. It depends if you're in a very religious community, but in ours, which is so diverse, I don't think it necessarily counts amongst the majority of kids somehow.
I would go further than that. I think that unless you are in the most religious echelon of the Jewish community, to get acceptance through your religious observance is very, very rare. It's more likely to be the football team that I support, or that I can do X or Y that my friends are doing. So I do agree with you. Our ideal is, and I have to tell you, I try to inculcate this within my school, that it's cool to be Jewish. I think that would be a wonderful thing for children to feel, you know what, it's not just cool to support a soccer team, and it's not just cool to be going out with friends. It is cool to be Jewish and to be proud of our Jewishness. I think they might be, and I think that if you go to a good school and you have a good home, then you will be. And I think that that is an absolutely wonderful outcome. But let's be clear, it isn't what their objectives are about. It's something, what we're trying to do, and I think this is what the key point here is. This is a reality. There's no point trying to change the reality. What we've got to be thinking about is how we can get these values into these children. I'm going to share with you, if I may, a Devat Torah. I can't help myself, I'm a rabbi, and after a while it just happens. Actually, this is a very beautiful Devat Torah. It's one of my favorites. In the wilderness, when the Jewish people were in the wilderness for 40 years, they had Nesiim, who were princes. And our rabbis teach us that when these princes died, they were buried, which is not an enormous surprise. But they were buried with their chatzotzerot. The chatzotzerot were their trumpets. So as a rabbi asked the question, he said, I don't understand. He was a mashgiach of Gateshead Yeshiva. He said, I can understand that the Nasi dies, you bury him. But why do you have to bury his trumpet? Give his trumpet to the next generation and let them use it. And the answer was as follows. The answer is that the medium of communication that works for one generation will not work for the next generation. You have to have a new medium of communication. And I have to tell you, I think that that is brilliant. Because that is what this is all about. The truth is that the teachers are from Mars and the students are from Venus. We're in different planets. And we come and we meet in this alien atmosphere because that's the reality. It's not the home. It's not necessarily where we want to. We come to a classroom. And what we want to achieve in that classroom is critical for their future life. Make no mistake about it, if we don't achieve these things, a love of learning, strong Jewish identity, long-lasting life skills and knowledge, and what was it you said to me before is so important?
Self-image.
Self-image, which by the way ties into that so
That's why I'm saying like, there is a bridge between both. Like there is very strong. I actually see a strong link. Huh? I don't know. Like
if there's no bridge, then we're in a terrible situation. Not only is there a bridge, I would go further than that. Okay, they're not right. A child who leads their life and everything that they do is to worry about what their friend is thinking about them. And every minute of the day, all they want to be is on modern technology using things. These are not right. I'm not saying that this is good. I'm saying it is something that we need to appreciate.
But we integrate technology into our...
Yes, but let me tell you something. I'm really sorry to have to break this news to you. When children think about technology and when they get excited about technology, it's not because somebody's offering them a click on the computer. Okay? It's not what they're looking for. I'm not saying that it's not fun, okay? My daughter is learning Spanish. I've given her Rosetta Stone and she's loving to learn it on the computer. It's a beautiful tool. That's what I mean by having trumpets or the medium of communication. A school that doesn't use the equipment that we have today. I can tell you that my organization is now working with one of the most advanced companies in the world, based in Israel, on virtual reality technology for education, okay? So that kids are going to be able to come, they can put these glasses on and they can walk around and see Jewish history come to life. We need to do that. We need to be able to show children that we can bring their learning to life. I'm not questioning that. But don't make the mistake of thinking that a child gets up in the morning and thinks, yes, I've got Jewish history today. Okay? They get up in the morning and they think, I am going to be meeting my friends. I am going to be worrying about what are my friends going to be saying. I want to have a phone. I want to be able to spend more hours on the computer. That is the reality of where they are. I mean, 1 second, I'll pump to you. And what we've got to be thinking about is how we can take these values and how we can engage these children. Yes.
I think it's on the board there, but I don't think we actually look this so deeply. I think it's a very relevant, the family here, if we want to achieve this. I think if we not involve the parents, as a family, as a nucleus, as a shortage, Layele, that is a source, is quite even very difficult to achieve that at school. If the parent is not involved in the life of the child, still will be computers and still will be technology and still will be acceptance, right? But if we as the parents not involved in the school environment and the child see us involved and importance to love Judaism and to feel identity, I think is a very important factor here.
I could not agree more. And I think that it is such an important point. I don't know about Australia, okay? I've only been here for a few hours, but I suspect it is very similar to what is going on in England and the US. And that is that teachers have taken on a new role. Okay, we used to be responsible for educating the children, and actually that was quite a narrow education. That's why I love the fact that maths and Jewish studies in a way were there, because I think if you went back 30 years and asked teachers, what is your job? I teach maths, I teach Jewish studies, that's what I do. In fact, it was more or less about imparting knowledge. Today, we've become counsellors. Okay, it's very interesting. When I do this in England, the number one item that is written on the board is mental health. Okay, it has become the biggest issue in our society, and I suspect that you are not seeing it as much because actually you have got children that are engaged in sport and are going out and playing much more than we have in England at the moment, where they are spending literally every hour of the day when they get and playing on computers, and the damage that is causing is enormous. But what we are counsellors, we've become surrogate parents, and all of a sudden the list gets longer and longer and longer before you even get to teaching. I mean, if I was to ask you, in fact I might be doing this same session with the principals, I'm 2 months whether to do it or not. What is the most important thing for a principal of a school? The most important thing above everything else? It's not on either of these boards. It's health and safety. I've got to make sure that the same number of kids walk in and walk out at the end of the day and that they have all the limbs and that's it. And anything that impacts on that, I have to deal with. And number 2 on the list is money. Okay? And ultimately, they're totally pulled away from what is actually meant to be going on, which is this education. And what you're saying is 100% correct. What we need to be doing is creating an alliance between the teachers, the parents, and the students. And ironically enough, almost every school goes about it by trying to create an alliance between the teachers and the students and then arriving at the parents. It doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you, when I became principal, I introduced a rule that when we have parents' evening, the parents would bring their children. And the teachers went mad. They started screaming at me in the meeting. When I said we're going to do it, they said, no, you cannot do it. We want to speak about the parents, the children, and we don't want to have the teacher, the parents there. And I said, what do you think happened?
It's common practice in Australia.
Yes, of course, but this was 15 years ago, and I'm not sure it was even in Australia then. But I said, what do you think happens? You come along and you speak to the parents, and you tell the parents that whatever it is, Sheila has been misbehaving in class. And then they go home, and Sheila Tunstall says it's not true. I said, then what do you think happens? Do you think the parents come back to you to check? I said, it's all over. They can't be bothered to play the game. I said, you have them all sitting at the table together. You don't need more than 3.5 minutes to actually communicate what it is that the child is doing well, what it is you want to see them improve on, and how they can do that. And it transformed the relationship within our schools. Ultimately, and I now have to wind up, is that right? Ultimately, I can't, not in 45 minutes, discuss with you how we can resolve all of these problems. But I can tell you this. I read an article a few weeks ago about how parents should deal with a child of 3 who's having a tantrum and how they should not deal with it. And it was very interesting because basically they said that most parents come along and they see a child screaming and they say, stop screaming this instant! And the kid doesn't want to go leave the shop. You have to leave the shop this instant. It is not a discussion. I'm sick and tired of having this argument every time. We're going now. And what they point out is you're standing up over here, the child is down over there, you're screaming at them, there is no engagement. And so what they suggested is you bend down, you speak at their level, you explain to them the reasons. What are they simply saying? Build a platform of engagement. So what we've got to do, as you so beautifully put it, is to build that bridge. We've got to build a platform of engagement, not because we are going to live over here. That is a failure. If we give up those values and we live over here, we failed. But what we've got to do is come over here, pick them up, excite them, show them, yes, academic excellence is great, friends is great, but learn how to use those friends. Use the things that are important to them in order to be able to pull them back into the world which actually gives them the future. Thank you very much indeed.